Hi, this is Jon Combest. I wanted to invite you to listen to my show on Westplex, 104.5, Monday through Friday between 7 and 8 a.m. You may know me from my world-famous website, joncombest.com. But you may not know that I've been doing radio since my days in Spanish Lake, on the Hazelwood East High School radio station. I've invited this newbie, Brad Hildebrand, on the show with me, but he understands that I'm the real star of the show. Brad's just the button pusher and pot turner. Oh, not that kind of pot. Anyway, listen to The Jon Show on Westplex, 104.5, Monday through Friday from 7 to 8 a.m. and anytime, anywhere on bjshow.co and bjshow.us. Jon Boesch didn't approve of this message.
Welcome to the BJ Show. Let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. Come on, everybody. Let's lose control. Brad and Jon never wants to follow. Yeah, ready for the ride. It's the BJ Show. BJ Show.
And Jon Combest, you complain that I don't run any promos for the show. Jon, what are you talking about? I run promos for the show. Did you just hear that one?
Absolutely incredible. And I didn't even have to get behind a microphone for that one. That's so good, Brad. Are we sure that Jon Boesch did not approve that message?
He didn't. I know for a fact he didn't. And are we going to talk about him? You sent that to me. Is that something we can talk about in the air? You texted me that he got a new job. Can we talk about that later, like in the Charlie block?
I think maybe, I don't know, hopefully around 7:15 we'll still have time for story number one. If you and I don't just keep jibber-jabbering, maybe we'll be able to talk about a great decision that the Missouri Democratic Party made.
And by the way, we'll get right into Jon's deal here in a minute, but I have to say, everybody's got their panties in a bind over the Bad Bunny thing. I have no problem with the Bad Bunny thing at the halftime show for the Super Bowl, and quite honestly, I love the Bad Bunny ice cream. That's probably my favorite ice cream.
Oh, yeah, Bad Bunny ice cream.
Okay. So
I'm more of an Oyster Bunny kind of guy, Brad.
Oyster Bunny. Yeah, maybe that was a prediction in the future that we didn't really realize what that was when it was code hire Bad Bunny for and it said they had it like code if the ex-president said Oyster Bunny, he actually meant Bad Bunny. Okay, that is Jon Combest, Combest. Put a John in front of it, a .com on the end, and you had JonCombest.com. Every single day of his life, he puts together this incredible website of all these different things that go on in the state of Missouri, things you should know about, but you're probably too busy to find out about. Go to his website, nothing fancy. Go down, he's got all the different links. You won't see any videos, anything like that on there. It's just really basic web kind of stuff. What version is that again, Jon?
0.0.
And it'll take you just click on the links and it'll take you to the stories. Some of them are websites of media. Some of them are websites of other things. You'll never, ever, ever see Jon Combest linked to an official government site, although he's done it in the past, but he claims he never has. But we will just pretend that he's never linked to an official government website. Okay, we start off with this guy right here. We dust him off. We pull him out of the ground in Norway. Sir, your name again?
I'm Casey Kasem.
And what do we start with?
In third place,
A story from the Post-Dispatch. Austin Hughley, arguably the most thorough and best reporter at the Post-Dispatch. The headline, Missouri opens investigation into St. Louis's North Side Grant Program. And if you've been asleep for the last couple years, well, you've missed a heck of a show on Westplex Talk 104.5, the Brad and Jon Show. Or as the promo reads, the Jon Show. But in the last couple years, a lot of scrutiny over the St. Louis Development Corporation administration of federal grants. You know, a bunch of money came to St. Louis that was supposed to ostensibly help businesses in the north side. Now, we certainly shouldn't help businesses on the south side. There's a lot of white people that live there. But we should definitely help businesses in the north side to reinvigorate the north side. And as it turns out, thanks to thorough reporting from the aforementioned Austin Hughley, Austin went out and literally knocked on the doors of a number of businesses, quote unquote, businesses that were receiving these grants, and found out that they were actually sham businesses. One was a home healthcare business operating out of the central rear end. Another was a museum in a house that was never actually open during the business hours. There was a online retail shop that didn't have a website and didn't actually end up selling anything. And you and I have had a good time talking about the fact that there's businesses that do demolition. But the guy says, yeah, I needed the grant because I've never done demolition and I want to buy some demolition equipment. And then one day I'm totally going to start doing some demolition. So Missouri State Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick warned people a few months ago, hey guys, I'm going to start digging into this stuff. And yesterday he offered a few more details. He says that his office has received multiple whistleblower complaints. And here's the quote from Fitzpatrick in Hugh Gallay's story. What we have seen so far raised several red flags and warranted intense scrutiny of the program. We will do our best to give the people of St. Louis the answers they deserve and uncover any mismanagement or misuse of funds. So to cut to the chase here, Brad, this program was administered under the Tashara Jones administration. And one of the things that Austin points out, he says, you know, a lot of these shadier grants got a lot of attention for how silly they were. But what has received less scrutiny was the payday given to the former CEO, Neil Richardson. He got a severance package worth a cool $166,000. Now, all the board has to say about it is, well, we voted on it, but there hasn't been a lot of scrutiny of why would the board give Neil Richardson $166,000 to just kind of go away and be quiet. And as a final point, Brad, Austin quotes Otis Williams, who's the brand new guy in charge. And Otis Williams suggests that, hey, I'm happy to see this audit. He says, we feel comfortable that the program is on solid ground. Now, I've been wrong before, Brad, when I've opined on people's motives, but maybe I'll be wrong again. But I think Otis Williams is actually telling the truth here. I think he says, hey, let's identify all the nonsense that happened before I got here, so I don't have to carry any of that stink around on me when I try to bring a little bit of credibility to this program. And of course, I said that was my final note. One more note. Kara Spencer, one of the first things she did was come in and clean house. Neil Richardson was gone in May, and she put her own person, this Otis Williams guy, in. I guess you could call Otis her own person. So, Brad, I predict that Scott Fitzpatrick is going to find so much nonsense. And I think Scott's the kind of guy that when he says there's several red flags, he's not exaggerating. I think his office probably has already found a bunch of stuff.
John, you asked a question. Why would they approve this? What was the deal? The board? Why would they approve the exit payment he got?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know the rest of this story?
I don't know the rest of the story.
He's just been hired by the Francis Howell School District as their new superintendent.
Oh, yeah. Well, they had gone 9 months without a new one, Brad. Oh, wait a minute. This just in. He found some graffiti in the bathroom. Oh, wait, it's his own handwriting. What do you know? That's a first.
Okay, we ready for number 2?
Yeah, let's do it, Brad.
Up a notch to number 2.
St. Louis Public, among others, has covered the top story today. In fact, the very top headline today. Missouri Governor Kehoe activates National Guard to assist ICE agents. Once again, Brad, I'll point out, thank goodness we have Jason Rosenbaum at St. Louis Public Radio, because we have a neutral story, an unbiased story about ICE agents in Missouri. And to cut to the chase, we've all heard about how in other states, the National Guard has gone in to assist ICE. And in the case of California, there was a bunch of hubbub, to use your mother's words, rest in peace. There's been a bunch of hubbub because those National Guard agents were there to kind of protect ICE, an additional layer of support for ICE as it relates to physical protection. But in the case of Missouri, these agents are going to be doing, quote, administrative, clerical, and logistical duties at ICE processing facilities within the state of Missouri. Now, I'm sure a bunch of knee-jerk liberals will say, but why are we spending so much money and people and manpower and woman power? Well, the governor's office says just 15 members of the Missouri National Guard will participate in the mission. So more than a dozen, less than 20, will be helping out for some clerical duties. Now, to me, this seems like a minor step. It's more than symbolic because I'm sure having 15 people is real manpower for some of the logistical and administrative stuff. But it's not like the entire National Guard is coming out and providing personal security to all these ICE agents. So good for Kehoe. Once again, he gets to do something to help our immigration agents here. And it's not like he's spending a ton of money to do it.
So you approve of this? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea for Kehoe. And let's think about it. Let's just take the politics out of it. Why wouldn't you want these Missouri National Guard guys to be helping here, Brad?
Well, I don't understand the whole thing. I mean, whenever you have the mayor of Chicago went ballistic, they had this, I don't know if you saw this, they had this special roundup thing of they were looking for MS-13 or TDA members up in Chicago. And the mayor was like apoplectic about it. Oh my God, they're coming into, and they arrested like I think it was 20 different guys who was their TDA. And he was all upset because one of a couple of the agents were lifted by a helicopter and they came down on a rope on a rooftop they had sniper rifles to essentially, make sure everything went well in the investigation and the arrest. I don't get it. I mean, essentially, if you're the mayor of Chicago and you're complaining about the feds coming in and rounding up gang members, aren't you essentially saying, hey, we like those gang members, leave them alone? Is that essentially what you're saying?
Yeah, let us continue to not manage this problem.
Right. Let us continue to have these people.
How dare you usurp our superiority
right.
when it comes to not managing crime?
I don't, but see, that goes back to, once again, one of my mother's theories. Well, not theories. She had it well documented that everybody has. She always talks about people and their fiefdoms. Everybody has their little fiefdom. They have little fiefdom, and this is my little area of power. Stay the hell out. Don't come in my little fiefdom because I control everything, and you are not welcome here if you're going to try to make any changes. Right, John?
Yeah, and I think that's the least we can do to atone for. I heard you have a morning show with a guy that called your mom a harpy yesterday. And there wasn't an S in front of it. He wasn't talking about the fantastic markers made by the Stanford Corporation. He was talking about an actual harpy. Like a henpecker, you know what I'm saying?
Here's what's interesting. I give my phone number out in the air all the time, 314-280-8880. Write that number down. John, is that my real phone number?
It unfortunately is. Yes, I have it blocked.
And I have people with John. And John, what's your phone number? Give your phone number out, John.
Yeah, it's 321-2222. It's the weather line for KMOX.
John won't give his phone number out. So what happens is when people have comments about the show, which I'm going to fix coming up here really soon. When people have comments about the show, guess who gets them? I get them. Either people call me or they text me. And
have you stopped giving out the KFUO dial-up prayer line? Are you actually giving out your real number now?
That is my real number. Okay, I had a couple people text me yesterday saying, I can't believe John called your mother, who has been dead for, 13 years now, a harpy. But he did. He called my mom a harpy.
He sure did.
Okay, let's go to number one.
The number one.
Once again, an homage to Brad Hildebrand. Once again, a news story at number one that's not been covered by Missouri media. In fact, it came from a tweet. And this tweet includes a news item that I haven't been able to find online. So I pointed today to the tweet where I saw it. And the tweet came from Chelsea Rodriguez, the former communications director of the Missouri Democratic Party. Chelsea tweeted out a news story that reads, the Missouri Democratic Party has tapped Jon Boesch as the official training coordinator to help set up a statewide petition process that, if successful, would give voters a chance to reverse the new gerrymandered congressional map. Boesch recently stepped down from atop the St. Louis County Dems several months after a scuffle with Representative Michael Burton led to a misdemeanor assault charge. Boesch pleaded guilty to littering. Chelsea's commentary after she posts the news story. Her commentary reads, I could be mad that I was fired, parentheses, pending, end parentheses, for speaking against a bad financial decision while bad public behavior gets promoted, but that would be productive for no one. So I'm going to work harder for wins that pay dividends to the whole team because that's who I am. Hashtag MoLedge. We learn from this Chelsea Rodriguez tweet that Jon Boesch, who we spent a lot of mind share on yesterday, last week, a lot of time discussing Jon Boesch last week. And to catch people up in 30 seconds, a video came out, thanks to Jack Suntrip of the Post-Dispatch, from a police report last October of Jon Boesch, who was at the time the executive director of the St. Louis County Democratic Central Committee, and a scuffle with Michael Burton. We're not going to recap that. You can go back to the Brad and John show from last week. Of note, Jon Boesch texted Brad Hildebrand last week and asked if he could tell his side of the story. He said, I want to tell the truth. Some people don't like the truth. Boesch got all, a Timu version of Colonel Nathan Jessup and a few good men. So, Brad, we have Jon Boesch being elevated to this job with the Missouri Democratic Party. Now, Chelsea references the fact that she was fired, it's pending, for speaking out about a horrible financial decision that the Missouri Dems are about to make or have already voted on making. And I think what's curious here, Brad, is that we're not going to get Jon Boesch's side of the story because, well, he texts you to ask to be on the show, and then he flakes and doesn't have the courtesy to text you. I checked my email this morning. I haven't gotten an email from him. So, Brad, out of fairness, with the time that we have left, I want to read kind of the departure note that Jon Boesch posted on his LinkedIn, presumably after he was dismissed / chose to leave the County Dems. And I think there's a number in here you're going to love, Brad. In just 2 years as executive director, I built a party with nearly zero fundraising annually into the dominant county operation in the state. Now, Brad, here's the number I want you to pay attention to. Our digital capacity grew from 400 email addresses to nearly 8,000 recipients with a weekly readership rate of 44%. Get ready, Brad. And a click rate of 1.8%. A click rate, Brad. This is what Jon has done. Jon Boesch has done. They had no fundraising operation, according to him. And he built that. We'll get to that in a second. And a click-through rate of 1.8%. Now, Brad, you've done email marketing for most of your life, right? Or most of your professional life since the 90s. You know that 1.8% open rate, a click rate, is exemplary. If you have 1.6%, you're just kind of a mediocre white man with a pot belly that takes credit for other people's work. But if you have 1.8%, that's like God status, Brad. Also, Jon says, in fairness, again, we have to talk about this since he flaked on his interview. Through my planning, we raised over $250,000 for the 2026 cycle. Now, Brad, that's kind of curious. I think Jon didn't edit this. Maybe he could use a real communicator like Chelsea Rodriguez. Through my planning, we raised $250,000 for the 2026 cycle with partners and built a brand for the county, recognized statewide. He also points out that under his leadership in 2025, their protest participation grew from 500 people in the pre-Boesch era in the dark ages to over 7,700 protest attendees. And that doesn't even count the people, quote, driving around in cars during frigid weather. And, Brad, if you doubt Boesch's humility, check out the parting shot. I leave the party in its, and by the way, Jon, it's, in this case, as a possessive, is ITS. IT apostrophe S is when you're saying it is. So you might want to have a communicator take a look at this. I leave the party in its strongest position it has ever been and hope the Central Committee can build off the infrastructure I designed. Now, Brad, that's the kind of humility that you want to reward with a bunch of federal dollars coming to the state party, don't you think?
John, there's so many things wrong with that. First off, he's bragging about how many more protesters he's how do you count the protesters? Or does
well,
that
you just kind of look visually. It's kind of like saying there was no fundraising operation and then you're responsible for it. I wonder if you took a survey of Democrat candidates in St. Louis County and Democrat PACs and interest groups and unions and said, who got you those checks? You think they'd say Jon Boesch? That's not my battle. I'm going to let somebody else fight that. The point is, Brad, the Missouri Democrats, with all this money coming from D.C., and we talked about it yesterday, they have a ton of money coming from D.C. to spend to fight this redistricting plan. They dodged a bullet by not getting Chelsea Rodriguez. Like, why would you possibly want to hire Chelsea? You know, she worked for the Arizona Democratic Party. You've seen the movie The Waterboy, Brad. And as Mama Boucher said, you don't want to take all these crazy ideas from somewhere that's not your backyard. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to get a national operator, somebody with a national positive reputation and experience. You don't want that. You want somebody that worked for Charlie Dooley. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that attended 3 consecutive Camp Carnahans. You don't want somebody that's got national experience, Brad. So congrats to the Missouri Democratic Party. You could have had somebody with national experience, but instead, let's go for the guy that knows how to toss people out of buildings. Brad, the Democrats are going to dump a bunch of money into this Jeff City building. You also have to have a guy that knows how to do security. Chelsea Rodriguez doesn't have a big pot belly. She can't grab a guy by his beard and toss him out. Jon Boesch can.
John, you. By the way, I've never seen The Waterboy, and now that you've told me that I should have seen The Waterboy, I refuse to see The Waterboy. So.
Oh, you're so not cultured, Brad. It was an Oscar-winning film.
I never saw it. Okay, one thing that John didn't tell you about is that already that Boesch is being sued because of the fact that him handling the hiring of the petition takers. What do you call those? Petition?
Yeah. It's probably Fieldworks. You know, Jon Boesch worked for them in Nebraska for a whole 2 months. Put that on the resume, Brad.
Right.
Share that on LinkedIn. Go ahead.
He's been sued because the women don't have beards and the men's beards are being measured. And the reason he's requesting beards of all his petition signature gatherers is that if they don't come up with the numbers, he's going to pull up to where they're at and yank on their beard and say, I need 20 more by tomorrow. So that's the deal where everybody has to have a beard. That's why the women...
Brad, I've been to the FCC page. You've been warned about beard tugging references.
Well, see, today we don't have to worry about it because the FCC's closed down. So we can...
That's right. With the government shutdown,
Right.
It's like they don't even exist.
We can get away with not abiding by the FCC rules and regulations because they're all on furlough. Okay. Okay.
I'm glad that we were able to do justice to Jon Boesch, Brad, because since he flaked on you, I think it would be unfair to not give him a voice. And by using his own words via his parting shots or parting letter or credit taking, whatever you want to call it, on LinkedIn, I think we were able to be fair to him and give his side of the story.
Hey, I have to keep my beard trimmed because one of these days I'm going to come out of the studio and he's going to be there and he's going to, I can't believe what you guys are saying about me. He's going to yank on my beard. So I have to keep it I have to use the number 2 on my, you're going to say, oh, you're not going to take that the right way. But on my little trimmer thing.
Easy, Brad. Brad.
You've got the little combs, and they're like, there's one. Matter of fact, when my brothers still have hair, the running joke was he would go to the barber and he'd go 1 on the side, 2 on the top. And that was how he had his haircut. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? With the little combs.
I got a comment to that, but I won't say it back. We'll file this in the archives along the landing strip conversations. And I'm talking about airports.
Okay. That GPS clock's working real well for you, John, isn't it?
It sure is.
We have to take a break.